First, ex-Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is set to appear before the Office of the Special Prosecutor, which you know as OSP, on June 2, 2025, after his name was temporarily removed from the wanted persons list. This comes as he sues the OSP over its earlier declaration that he was a fugitive from justice. The OSP, however, warns that failure to appear will result in an Interpol red notice and extradition processes. Now, let's really understand what are the legal implications and even the story so far. Joining me in studio is my colleague Elton Brobe to give us a breakdown, while also on via Zoom, not in studio. Elton, let's put some context to this. What really led to the former finance minister being declared by the OSP as a fugitive?
Well, you may recall that somewhere in February, early February, the Office of the Special Prosecutor held a news conference and declared Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta wanted in connection with some ongoing 4 cases that the OSP is looking into. And they described Mr. Ofori-Atta as a prime suspect in all of this. Now, according to the OSP then, Mr. Ofori-Atta had refused to appear before the Office of the Special Prosecutor to answer for his role in the matters under investigation. And after several attempts to get him to respond and they failed, they decided to take the next step. And the next step was to declare him a wanted fugitive from justice. Now, fast forward, we got a correspondent from the legal representation on behalf of Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta indicating that Mr. Ofori-Atta was out of the country seeking medical attention and was not in a position to tell when Mr. Ofori-Atta himself will come to Ghana. Then they brought in another letter from Mr. Ofori-Atta indicating that his treatment was likely to end in the 2nd week of May. And for that reason, he will be available to respond to any question that the OSP may have either at the end of May or in the 1st week of June.
Right.
Now, last week, Mr. Ofori-Atta wrote a letter to his friends in which he indicates that he's not running away from justice. And then goes on to say that he's not done anything wrong. And then whatever the OSP may have against him, his lawyers are in a better position to respond to this matter. And for that reason, the OSP should get to his lawyer so that this matter can be resolved without necessarily him being present at the OSP's office. And then over the weekend, the lawyers acting on behalf of Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta filed a suit in court describing the whole exercise as an illegality. And it went on to make certain demands on the court that the OSP has no legal mandate to use media briefing to declare an individual wanted. Ken Ofori-Atta argues that such declaration falls under police jurisdiction and must be done with court approval. He goes on to say in the writ that by declaring him wanted without proper legal basis, the OSP allegedly exceeded its authority under the Office of the Special Prosecutor Act at 959/2017 and the Office of the Special Prosecutor Operation Regulation 2018 LI 2374. The alleged unlawful declaration infringes on his personal liberty and freedom of movement as enshrined in the 1992 Constitution. Also, according to him, violates international human rights obligations under the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and the African Charter on Human Rights issues. And the suit again accuses the OSP himself of professional misconduct. So this is the suit that is pending before the court, yet to be moved. And then in the early hours of this morning, the OSP, a correspondent, gave Mr. Ofori-Atta some ultimatum.
Well, Elton, so what is really in contention? The fact that it's not under the OSP's jurisdiction to declare him as a fugitive, or the fact that it was publicized in the media? What is really the contention here? I mean, you have stated that that's what is in his writ, but what have you been finding? Is it really under the jurisdiction of the OSP or not?
Well, the OSP, according to the law establishment, it give them some powers that originally was reserved for the police, which means that the OSP can undertake an arrest, and then the OSP is also empowered through court approval to declare some persons wanted, that is, if those persons are unavailable to respond. Now, what Mr. Ofori-Atta is arguing is that by declaring him wanted without proper legal basis, the OSP allegedly, he used the word allegedly, exceeded its authority under the Office of the Special Prosecutor Act and also the Office of the Special Prosecutor's Operations. Now, he says that the unlawful declaration infringes on his personal liberty and freedom of movement. Now, the OSP, in a response in the early hours of today to the suit that was filed by lawyers for Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta Friday, makes the point that they've heard him, but they are not backing away. But they've given him a warning to appear before the OSP on June 2nd, 2025 at exactly 1:30 p.m. Failure to do so, they've reviewed certain steps they will take. One of them is to release him as a wanted person and a fugitive from justice. And they make the point even further that they will start proceedings to extradite him into the country wherever he is, meaning that he may be moving from one country to the other. And they conclude by saying that they are battle ready to ensure that Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta is brought to the jurisdiction to respond to 5 key matters under investigation, which is a prime suspect in all of those. So this is where we are now regarding the OSP and Ken Ofori-Atta. It's unclear what next step the lawyers for Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta will take, or to stay with the rates they've already filed in court.
Elton, thank you so much for bringing clarity to this story. This will definitely be a determinant of how the OSP will be definitely dealing with high-profile cases. But moving on, government has allocated 292 million Ghana cedis in the 2025 budget for the provision of free sanitary pads to female students in primary and secondary schools. This initiative will reduce absenteeism among girls and ensure they manage their menstrual hygiene and health with dignity. However, the Alliance for Reproductive Health Rights is demanding clarity on the allocation, raising concerns about the lack of a clear implication plan, funding sources, and accountability measures. Will this policy effectively address menstrual hygiene challenges, or will it rather create more risk management? Send Ghana also welcomes the initiative but calls for concrete strategies to guarantee timely distribution and sustained ways of also managing this. Now, there are excerpts of the statement on your screen. It says that Alliance for Reproductive Health Rights, key questions for government clarification now to promote transparency, accountability, and efficiency in the rollout. We call on the government to urgently provide clarity on the following issues. It says that 1, how was the 292.4 million budgeted for? Policy as determination, how was it really budgeted for? It also says that what is the source of funding? And also in terms of implementation and coordination mechanism, will the ministry be responsible for the implementation of education? And also says that Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, Ministry of Health as well, will they be part of the implementation? It goes on to ask the question, what will the distribution mechanism look like? Will sanitary pads be distributed through schools, health facilities, or community-based structures? These are some genuine concerns that the Alliance for Reproductive Health Rights has been asking for. It also says that how will coordination among ministries and agencies be ensured to prevent duplication and inefficiencies? Now let's get some answers on why the Alliance for Reproductive Health Rights is asking all of these questions. Let's speak to Nana Oyejima, who is Communications Officer for Alliance for Reproductive Health Rights. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. And so we all have seen the allocation and the budget as presented by the Finance Minister, Dr. Kasiel Atuforsen. In Parliament, we've seen the amount. Yourself, as well as Send Ghana, has also raised some concerns. But what exactly is your concern, as appropriation hasn't even started yet?
Yes, thank you very much, MFA. And before I even say anything, we want to really commend government for this critical step, because we know that it's going to address the menstrual hygiene and health challenges that women and girls have in this country, especially those in low-income countries. But really, what we are looking at is that we've had promises over promises on health each and every year when we have budgets and when we read budget, and promises coming from governments and political parties and all of that. But before this one even starts, what we are trying to know is that what we are trying to put out there is that if we do not have a clear strategy for implementation, this promise is going to die off. we do not want it to have no implementation or funding strategy at all. So this is just a way to help governments to be able to plan well and structure well so that we do not even start and get stuck along the way and not have funding to continue or have reasons not to continue. So we want a sustainable execution of this policy because we believe that without this strategy, the policy risks being ineffective or inequitable or mismanaged. So all of these questions that we have raised, if government is able to answer all of these, then we know that we have a clear plan so that it is one, sustainable, it is two, equitable, and it is very well managed.
Well, I like your use of inequitable and even equity, which means that what you deserve is what you're going to be getting. But what are some of the challenges you're foreseen that would probably occur during the implementation stage? Some of the things you're preempting?
Yeah, so when you look at the issue of sanitary pads, you will know that in our part of the country, there are people who really need it and there are people who are able to afford it. There are people who are able to afford half, and there are people who are not able to afford the whole. And so what we are saying is that we need it to be equitable. There are people in low-income countries who may need this initiative more than people in certain parts of our country who already have access to it. And when we are looking at equity, we are looking at providing everybody with the same opportunity to access and opportunities. And so it should not just be a policy that will have a center space in some part of Ghana and leave some part of Ghana. We should really look at it critically and know who really needs to have this and who cannot really afford this. Which girl, which woman, in which part of our country cannot get access to sanitary pads, and how do we get it to them?
Well, this sounds like what St. Ghana is also asking for, that beyond the primary and secondary schools, there are young women out there who are genuinely unable to afford sanitary pad. And so they're asking the government at least to subsidize or even reduce the taxes completely to zero for these people as well, which means that for you as well as an entity, you support what St. Ghana is asking the government to do.
Entirely. And in our press release, you know that it's not just ARHR, but on behalf of the CSO. Yes, so on behalf of everybody, we really want to see that this policy is being implemented, and it is being implemented equitably.
Right. Thank you so much, Nana Oye. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Now, away from that, suspect in the alleged murder of the final year student of the KNUST has again been remanded into prison custody. Daniel Tufo was arrested on February 27, 2025 in connection with the alleged killing of Joanna Yabahini, who was found unresponsive behind the central lab on KNUST campus. According to the court dockets of the case have been sent to the Attorney General Office for further advice. Emmanuel Bright-Kweku joins me with more details. Emmanuel, what was the court like today? What's the mood? What was it like?
All right, so MFA, today at the courts, the mood was quite solemn for both parties. That's involving Daniel Tufo, who is the suspect, and even the families of the deceased. And in fact, when we went to the court today, all they are seeking for is that they want to know the circumstances that led to the demise or death of the final year students, that's Joanna, and biological students at the KNUST. And so today at the courts, that was quite the mood over there, with a lot of people expecting that justice will be served and everything regarding this whole situation will be concluded. And so for today's court proceedings, we know that Daniel, the suspect, Daniel Tufo, was arrested on February 28, 2025, and was remanded into custody for 2 weeks and was to reappear today in court. That's because the prosecution had stated that they needed to do further investigations. And so the suspect, that's Daniel, had to go into prison custody until today. So when they have reappeared to court, we gathered that this particular case has been referred to the Attorney General for further advice on how to go about the proceedings pertaining to this particular case. So today in court, the case has been referred to the Attorney General pending his advice. And also the case has also been adjourned to April 1. So on April 1, we'll know everything, what the advice from the AG regarding this case is, and also what the next steps with regards to this investigation or court case is regarded.
Emmanuel, so if I hear you clearly, we don't know whether or not the suspect is pleaded guilty or not.
As we speak now, no, he hasn't pleaded. Okay. We've not had any of that sort. And so the case is still, we know that the case is going to the Attorney General.
For further advice. Okay. Okay. All right. Emmanuel, I'm certain that the network is not favoring me, but we hear you quite clearly, Emmanuel, and I am sure that we'll be following this case clearly and we're bringing you updates. But away from that, in our Ghana Month series today, we're taking off on a journey through history, right from the heart of Ghana's aviation hub, Kotoka International Airport, from its wartime beginnings as British military air base to becoming one of West Africa's busiest airports. But one thing is still missing: a national airline. Collins Frimpong takes us through the highs and lows of Kotoka International Airport story. Kotoka International Airport was originally built as a military base during World War II, serving as a strategic outpost for Allied forces. After Ghana gained independence in 1957, it was converted into a civilian airport and initially named Accra International Airport. In 1969, it was renamed in honor of Lieutenant General Emmanuel Kwesi Kotoka. Today, Kotoka International Airport has evolved into a major aviation hub with an annual passenger capacity of approximately 5 million. The airport comprises 3 terminals, including Terminal 3, the newest and largest, completed in 2018 as a primary international terminal. Its 3,403-meter runway allows it to accommodate some of the world's largest aircraft, including the Boeing 747 and Airbus A380. However, despite having a modern airport, Ghana has struggled to sustain a national airline. The country's former flagship carrier, Ghana Airways, was grounded due to financial difficulties and later transitioned into Ghana International Airlines. Mounting debt, including a £4 million lawsuit from BOAC that resulted in the seizure of one of its aircraft in London, ultimately led to its collapse. Efforts to revive a national airline have repeatedly stalled. In 2019, the government signed an MOU with Boeing to acquire 3 787 Dreamliners, with Egypt Air expressing interest in assisting with the project. Years later, however, those plans remain unrealized. For now, Kotoka International Airport continues to serve as Ghana's international gateway, and the dream of a national airline remains grounded. Collins Frimpong's report, read to you for Joy News. You're watching News Today. We go for a quick break. When we come back, business and showbiz on sports. Please stay.
Back to business here on JoyNews Today. My name is Winston Taki, and now to our first business story. The Ghana Revenue Authority has justified government's decision to increase the growth and sustainability levy for the mining and extractive sector to 3%. According to the Acting Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Anthony Kwesi Sapon, the mining companies have been engaged and agreed for the increment due to many factors. He addressed stakeholders at a post-budget forum in Accra.
Mining constituents. I think they are also my constituents as well. They are in the extractive industry and are very good taxpayers as well. But you will notice that, for instance, in the past 1 year, the gold prices has jumped over the roof, But we don't have in Ghana at the moment, in the short term, windfall taxes. So when prices have jumped over the roof and we know the extractive industry is making all the profit, we don't have those taxes. So we actually did engage some of the key mining players, and I'm happy to announce that they accepted with a smile to pay some of the taxes. So the increase in levy that you talked about, that we are worried, it was accepted with a smile. So we didn't just bring it in, we did the consultation and we made sure that we judge all with them and agreed what would be reasonable to capture that. This is in the short term, but in the medium term, we'll then look at the policy on windfall tax and to bring it in so that we don't have to change these rules.
Now, in other development, the Executive Director of the UK-Ghana Chamber of Commerce, Ajoba Chama, has indicated the Chamber is working with some women-led businesses to find solutions with barriers affecting their operation. She spoke to Joy Business at the 2025 International Women's Day Networking Branch in Accra.
The 2025 networking branch, organized by the UK-Ghana Chamber of Commerce and the British High Commission, is part of the International Women's Day celebration to support women expand their businesses. Executive Director of the UK-Ghana Chamber of Commerce, Ajoba Chama, said the chamber will work to improve women-led businesses to take advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Area.
Now, one of the things I would like to make clear is that the cause of women is not peculiar to women alone. Whatever challenges women face are similar to the challenges men face when it comes to business. So business challenges do not choose the gender of who it needs to affect. We've been running our annual business climate or business environment and competitiveness survey since 2019, and it's always the same business challenges: access to finance, government bureaucracy, frustrations with the tax administration system, electricity may either be the cost of electricity or access to power. So it's the same.
UK High Commissioner to Ghana, Her Excellency Harriet Thompson, pledged their support to providing more capacity building and funding to these businesses.
The whole of our posts, our missions, our high commissions and our embassies across Africa for the British Diplomatic Service. And that's because we want to take advantage of this longer opportunity in one way international both to celebrate the progress that's been made towards gender equality, but also to remind ourselves of the barriers that there still are to overcome. And as we've done today, to start talking about, to talk more about the things that we can each do as individuals.
The 2025 International Women's Day Networking Branch was under the theme Increasing Women's Leadership and Representation in Decision-Making Across Industries.
That's all for business here on JoyNews Today. Up next is sports after this break.